Okay, so in these lessons, we're going to be talking about IELTS Task 2 writing. And if you need more help, again, feel free to visit us at www.aehelp.com for more information, more lessons, and more practice. These lessons will be divided into a few different sections. First, we're going to be talking about the introduction and essay basics. So just some simple rules that are important to understand about essay writing before we look at the next sections. The second part that we'll look at is understanding the question, and planning the essay. Of course, the first step to a good response in Task 2 is to understand the question. Many students begin to write their response before they clearly understand, so I will show you how you can make sure that you understand the question, and then planning your points that you will discuss and argue in your essay. That's of course a very important step to get a nice high score. And then finally, we will look at the structure of Task 2 with an example. So again, to have a very clear idea, please watch the entire series. Today we're going to be looking at the introduction and essay basics. Then in the following lessons we'll look at understanding the question and planning, and finally we'll discuss the structure with the example. So let's get to the first part, A. Okay, so let's remember that the IELTS Task 2 writing is about 250 words, so it is a persuasive essay. It should have 4 paragraphs, contains 4 to 5 paragraphs. We'll talk more about that when we talk about structure. It has to be a minimum of 250 words. You have 40 minutes for this. And of course, in that 40 minutes, you should try to make sure that you have a few minutes to plan during the beginning and then a few minutes to check during the end. And the grade for Task 2 in the writing section is about 2/3. So value for the writing section is 2/3, or you can think about it as 66% of the total writing section mark. Okay, which makes sense because it's 40 minutes for this task, and for Task 1 it's 20 minutes, so that's a clear sign of why it's a 2/3 mark for this assignment. Okay, so again, this is the introduction for Task 2. This is what you need to do. Now, before you begin to write anything, it's very important that you understand the basic rules of essay writing. And that's 2 parts, so we're going to look at that now. And you will have a much better idea of how essays work in English. So this is essay basics part 1. Now, the most important part of essay writing to understand in the beginning is basically there are 4 types of essays in the English language. There are many more, but each type fits into one of these 4 categories. So let's look at the first one. This is the IELTS Task 2 type. It's called a persuasive essay, or persuasive writing. Persuasive, meaning persuade or to convince, just simply says exactly what this needs to do. So persuasive writing seeks to convince the reader of an idea. And of course this is the IELTS, because usually the IELTS questions ask, do you agree or disagree, or which do you believe? And in these IELTS essays, you're seeking to convince the reader of an idea. So it's very important to use language that is trying to convince the reader. So it is important to understand, it should be done, it should be understood, we must see, and so on. So this is the IELTS Task 2. And no surprise that this is also the most common type of writing in university. Of course, in university, students come up with ideas and then try to convince their readers about their ideas. So that's the first type of writing style. The second one is called expository. And expository, if you look at the word, the beginning part is expose. Expose means to show or to reveal. And exactly that, expository writing seeks to explain an idea or process. And if you remember the Task 1 lessons, that is an expository writing style. So when you're looking at a bar graph or a pie chart, what you're doing is you're explaining to the writer the information that is shown on that graph. So of course that's why we see the process essay, which is one type of expository. So process essays are first, second, third, and that's just one type of expository writing. So again, no surprise that this is for the IELTS Task 1, but it's also very common in university because many ideas we don't try to convince, but we try to show and explain. So now you understand why these 2 types of writing are on the IELTS. So let's say IELTS and university. Okay, now the third type of writing style is what's called a narrative. And narrative writing, if you look at the word narrative, you might know the word narrator. The narrator is a person who tells a story. So when you're watching a nature show, for example, and they're explaining about the lions attacking the gazelles and so on, that's the narrator. So narrative writing seeks to tell a story. And of course, with stories, you must have a beginning, middle, and end. And with stories, of course, you build characters, you build the setting, so you describe where it's happening, who are the characters, what's happening to them, usually some kind of conflict or climax where something exciting happens in the story, and then what happens after, which is called the anticlimax. So that's narrative writing. Now, narrative writing is not so common in university unless your major is English, journalism, and so on. So it's a more rare form of writing, and that's why we don't see it so much on the IELTS either. So it's not something you have to worry about right now. And the last type is what's called descriptive writing. And descriptive writing seeks to describe a person, place, or event. Or idea. Now with descriptive writing, there's something very important that you have to remember. Descriptive writing uses descriptive language, which means using adjectives, adjective clauses, so explaining that an apple is red, it's a big red apple. But of course on the IELTS it's more complicated, so using adjective clauses, for example, people who believe that physical education should be mandatory in schools need to understand free choice. So descriptive writing includes adjectives, adjective clauses, and very importantly, it includes a lot of sensory language. So language that describes feelings, language that describes touch, taste, smell, hearing, and of course, most important, vision. So things that we see. And that's why examples from our experiences are very important. Now, descriptive writing is a separate category of writing, but good persuasive writing, good expository writing, and good narrative writing all have descriptive writing in them, okay? To learn more about descriptive writing and tools for descriptive writing, I suggest visiting the free writing course on www.aehelp.com because those will really help you to push your score on task 2, and they will help you to describe your ideas in your persuasive writing much, much better. Okay? Okay. So again, remember that we have these main 4 categories of writing styles in language: persuasive, expository, narrative, and descriptive. And they each have rules that should be followed. Okay, so this is part 1 of Essay Basics, and now there's a second part to Essay Basics, which we will talk about.